All right. Hey, welcome to the Go for CEO channel. Once again, we have a special interview today. Remember, we interview people that are making things happen, right? Startups to 25 million in revenue, CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, and just people that are driven by mindset and want to go for it. Go for CEO. So, special guest today, one of the people that in the companies that I actually have been able to help in financing of their business and some of the things that they're growing into, and so excited to have them on. We juggled the calendars around and got this fine gentleman to join us, and very appreciative. So Cole Russetti, right?
Yep.
All right. Cole Russetti joins us here from Camp Run A Pup. Thanks so much for coming on board, Cole.
Hi.
Awesome. So, hey, I wanted to, bring you on, obviously tell the story of Camp Run A Pup and what you're doing in the Chicagoland area, going from a family-owned business, right, which is, a smaller enterprise, running it from your house, building up an enterprise, building up a brand. We're going to go through all those things today, and, so appreciative for you to come on. So why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about your background, who you are, your family background, and then kind of just the mindset of what made you get into the business that you guys have.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been doing this my whole life. I mean, I've been doing this since I was 6 years old. My mom started Camp Run A Pup in 2000, and she basically wanted a way that she could stay at home, make a little extra money, and take care of me, and but still send me to a good school and all that kind of stuff. And it quickly grew, and suddenly we were boarding quite a few dogs at our house over the holidays, and we had this growing side business that was quickly becoming our main income source. So I grew up, letting out dogs, feeding dogs, just kind of going out, being with my mom while she was dealing with clients, checking them in, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it was always, a very fun environment to be in as a kid, because there's just always something to do, some dog to play in, like rarely a dull moment. Yeah, and then in 2009, my dad passed away, and we the business took a little bit of we're a small team, and so it took a bit of a hit, and we took a couple of years where we were kind of adjusting and figuring things out. And then, sorry, the lighting's getting a little strange. And then in 2014 I graduated high school, and I wanted to start day camp because we had been doing boarding for a while, and we had great business around the holidays and at certain times of the year, but it would fluctuate, a huge amount. And so during times where there wasn't a lot of travel, we just, we wouldn't really have much business. And so by starting day camp, we could bridge that gap and have continuous, reliable income month over month. So we started in, I took everything out of my mom's Honda Odyssey and built a whole configuration in the back, and we started picking up dogs, and it started growing pretty quickly from there. So yeah, we've now been doing day camp for 5 years. We have 3 day camp vehicles. I'm sorry, I'm gonna set the shade up.
No worries. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you're hearing a great family story, an upbringing of entrepreneurship. So go ahead, Cole, continue on.
Yeah. So now we have 3 vehicles. The system in the back has grown quite a bit. So we've developed kind of a whole system to safely transport the dogs, so they all have their own space, and everyone is safe and secure, and we can easily unload and load everyone up, and we have all the keys and everything that we need, so that it's we can really make pick up and drop off as efficient as possible and spend as little time in the car as possible. Yeah, and recently since we've added our 3rd vehicle, we've split the route in 2, and so now we're covering even more of Chicago, and kind of getting more dense in our routes, so we're not as spread out, which is also really good.
That's awesome. I mean, so go back to some of those beginning childhood memories, right? You're in it, you're working, you're part of this family business that really kind of, maybe even feels a little bit part-time-ish, right? You've got your parents doing things, and you're starting to, and your mom's got this idea. Those seeds of greatness get put into you. Now you graduate high school, and you're like, well, hey, what should I do? But you already had what you were doing kind of inbred inside you, right? So, some of those things are that spirit of entrepreneurship, right? Some of those are starting to grow the culture that you got, kind of born into and grew into and raised it through. So when you're operating your business right now, what are some things that maybe early on you started to see that tweaked a little bit from the mindset of your mom, right? Kind of running the business to you implementing your style and giving feedback to the business?
Yeah. So my mom has a background in sales and marketing. That's what she did before starting Camp Run A Pup. And so she's incredible with clients. I mean, like, truly fills every single one of their needs, knows what they need it beforehand. I mean, is on top of it, is incredible. That's not my strong suit. I'm good with clients, but I'm just not as personable as she is. But I can focus more on the operations side and how we, provide the services to those clients consistently at the same, time. So we're consistently able to provide the same services. We're consistently able to, provide the same pricing and, guarantee the same experience throughout, while she's focusing more on their, individual needs. My mom, she grew this business with clients that, she had known them for 15 years, and she developed that relationship. And the only reason they stopped going to camp is because they moved away, or their dog eventually passed. And now we're transitioning into a bit more of a, we have a few more clients, and, we're managing more than a few client relationships. And so it's a little bit different. We can't have the same sort of micro focus on each, individual client. And so kind of adjusting that and adding that perspective, because I think she would truly go above and beyond and spend all of her time focusing on that.
And you bring that dynamic, right? Obviously, you saw that piece of the puzzle where you saw this family business growing, and it was doing pretty well, but you see the vision of the operations and starting to formulate that. So, what are some tweaks that, as you got into it and really kind of dove all the way in, you saw as things that could improve on your strong suit?
Yeah. So the transportation piece of things, when we're, picking up dogs all over the city, and, we need to optimize that so we can pick up as many dogs as possible, but still keep it safe, and not have any incidents. I've really excelled in kind of developing a whole new system for transporting the dogs in the van. So I built this whole, partition, multi-level system, so each dog has their own space, and they're all they all have mats and everything like that, and it makes it a lot safer and easier to pick up dogs, because that's the worst experience ever, is that a dog, if a dog were to get out, and you're in a situation where someone's like family member is out in the streets, so we really we do everything we can to prevent that. And I pride myself on creating a van that is as safe as possible, and then also planning the routes and figuring out how we're going to pick up dogs every day, and figure all that out. I also added on Prairie Wolf, which is a service. We take a group of dogs out to Lake Forest. They have this 44-acre dog park, and so we take dogs that have, high energy level and love ball, and we play with them for, a couple hours out there, and the dogs absolutely love it. It's great for expanding, our business, because we're constantly seeing people and they're seeing the dogs are having a great time with us. And the pictures go a long way on Instagram for sure. So we, I think that's been a really good addition. And also Halloween was my mom and I, but Halloween has turned into a, insane ordeal every year where we take pictures of 70 plus dogs in different costumes and,
Oh, wow.
and post them on Instagram, and and we do that kind of thing. So, but yeah, a lot of it, my mom and I, will just be kind of talking about various ways we can engage our clients, especially in some of those down periods where where there isn't necessarily a big holiday or something, so that's where birthdays come in, where a couple of years ago we did St. Patrick's Day, and we did paw prints of all the dogs, and we made them into four-leaf clovers, and just stuff that we can, people will have a story to tell about us. If you have that around your dog's neck, someone says, "Oh, that's so cute," now you have a connection immediately to Camp Run A Pup. Same with the birthday photos. It's hard to see those and not want that for your own dog.
Well, I just told you off camera, losing my dog and not having some of those moments captured for his birthday, February 8th, 2010 was his. But no, what an incredible story. The things that you're thinking about as a small business owners to increase the engagement with your clientele is pretty awesome. So, you're really talking about marketing, talking about brand awareness and those types of things. And I know that you kind of settled into a sweet spot, the operations side, but let's transition now into a little bit of, what you're doing. So can you tell us a little bit about how you're building out your Instagram, how you're messaging that to your clientele, and what works within Camp Run A Pup?
Yeah. So we've been pretty active on social media since we started posting photos and everything like that. And it's been a little bit of trial and error, and just kind of, seeing what people respond to. It's funny. Yeah. We'll take a photo and we'll think, well, this is outstanding. People are going to love it. And people, it gets like no attention at all. And then we'll post something that we're like, well, this is a crap photo, and, but whatever, we got it. And people are thrilled and they absolutely love it. So we're still definitely figuring it out. But yeah, we're just kind of trying to keep a consistent, feel throughout our social media. So we keep the fun camp vibe, and it's nothing's too serious, nothing's too we just like to have a good time. And so Prairie Wolf, we've tried to add a little bit more of the like artistic photos, and see if that see how we do with that, but yeah, social media seems to be growing really well.
Yeah, no, I see it around, and obviously making the effort to kind of join those people, join the community of Instagram, or the community of your Facebook group page, and in those areas. I know that you have a LinkedIn profile, and just things that grow that way. What a great time in life, right? That as a young entrepreneur, seeing your business grow from really kind of a home-based business to now having your operations. Tell us a little bit now to that transition, right? You guys made a decision, and I was part of it on my other side of life of business lending, hearing about this story and going from your home and really running a pretty nice sized business, revenues and all these types of things, to now having your own building. What has been some of the dynamic of that, and the transition of going from a home-based business to now a real, solid location and some of these other services that you're providing?
Yeah, it's super exciting. Yeah, we'd been, working towards this for a while, and it's a big step for our business and, moving forward. So I think we're ready to open in early January, and yeah, it's coming along. I cannot wait to get into to the spot. We searched all over Chicago for, like, honestly, I mean, we really searched for about 3 years, and then 2 years ago, a cousin of mine mentioned that he had an uncle who might be interested in investing in our business, if we presented a business plan, and so we went around and kind of found a property that we were interested in and created that business plan, and then went through the process of courting his investment. And we did, so he ended up investing in our business. And at that point, we could really seriously search for a property. And in Chicago, that was especially challenging for us because the environment that we created was focused largely around outdoor play, and having this fun outdoor camp environment. So we really didn't want to be in a situation where now all the dogs are playing in some warehouse, with fluorescent lighting and epoxy floors, and it just wasn't going to feel like us, And the zoning in Chicago is challenging because there's really only a few zoning designations that allow outdoor play for dog boarding places. So after like basically about a year of searching, and finally going to the Chicago zoning website and printing out, like going through the map and printing out all these photos of a zoning map of Chicago and then stitching them together, and then going through and circling all the little C22 zoning districts, and then putting Post-it notes over them, and each weekend going out for 7-8 hours, driving around, looking at properties. Wow. We found a property that was 5 minutes away from our house. So yeah, so it's a fantastic property. It's a lot of space to grow. So it's about 10 times larger than our current location, and it's got at least, I think the outdoor space is about 3.5-4 times larger. So the dogs are going to have a lot more space to run around, and we can really grow there for the foreseeable future, until we're getting that second location. So yeah, I'm really excited, to finally have a setup that I have built custom from the ground up, and move in and get started.
Wow, what an exciting time for you, right? I mean, the joy of seeing something that you put in your thoughts, you and your mom now, have envisioned this, and it's come to fruition. You've got the financing for it, you got the investor for it, and you really became this full-fledged, incredible business. I know that operations is something that you kind of dove into first, but I could see the vision that you put together, and I see the passion that you also have. I know the Go for CEO community is going to really enjoy that last few minutes there too, just kind of envisioning and seeing the website and kind of what's going to go on and all that type of stuff. So it's pretty cool. So you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're on, you send out these messages. I'm sure you have an email list and all that type of stuff. So one thing that we haven't talked about is scaling, right? Going from a home-based business to now your own location. You have these double routes that you talked about, and figuring all that out. It can't just be you and your mom doing this. So tell us about your team and what's going on with that, and how you've been able to attract the right people to have the heart to grow Camp Run A Pup with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, for years, it was just, our family business. We had a helper who was, a huge help, but just would really help, hands-on with the dogs. And yeah, so as we've grown, hiring has been one of the biggest unforeseen challenges for this business. I mean, I truly, I had no idea, but it's been really interesting. And right now, yeah, we have a really solid team. My mom and I are doing most of the dealing with clients, still managing the majority of the business. But we have an extra, a driver that we've added on who also takes photos for us and stuff. And we basically just through, interviewing and kind of figuring out, okay, this is kind of the type of person that we work well with. Over the past 4 years, we've had people that have worked for us for, a year or year and a half, and then a lot of the time we attract people that are in school, and then we'll go their separate ways. So through that process, we've just kind of developed a bit of a profile of the person who works well with us. Right now we have a great new hire, Alexis, and she actually majored in college as a orchestra major, like a orchestra conductor major. So, which is kind of a, bizarre major, but when you think about it, I mean, it's managing, many different people's schedules at the same time and having to keep things on time. Otherwise you're spending thousands of dollars because you have hundreds of people at this event, and having people like that looking for those kind of like hidden talents that someone might have, where, a lot of people can learn to work well with dogs, but it's the other, piece of, okay, can you handle a group of dogs? Can you handle a pack of dogs? Can you answer client questions about a dog so that they feel confident, and they feel confident that you know what you're talking about, and looking for those kind of people. And then also in the, in the financing piece of things, we were so fortunate. I mean, we were so fortunate to have people like you and Jeff, and just people to kind of like, because that was a whole new world to me. I mean, I mean, dealing with all that stuff for the first time was a lot, and so having some, for us, I can't say that we did anything special to find you. You just kind of fell into our lap. But, having some people that it really felt like were on our side and could just tell us what stuff meant was incredibly helpful.
No, that's awesome. And so proud for you guys to have accomplished that. It seems like too, you've had your trials and errors, right? And one of the things about entrepreneurship is really you start learning different things, right? I mean, take it from you're 6 years old and you're in this business that you're seeing your mom and dad do something, and all of a sudden, something happens that's tragic in your life, and you guys still take that next level a few years later. You make the commitment. You're putting people together that attract the right type of environment and branding behind it. So, what an incredible story, Cole. One thing I will say in dealing with you, I know that you're a younger guy, but your wisdom of just the way that you talked, the way that I interacted with you, off of this Go for CEO community was just amazing. And I told your mom that she did a great job, and obviously your father as well, of just raising someone that really kind of you could see and feel the passion inside of you and how you went for it, right? And that's what this channel is about, is going for CEO, right? And it could be in your own business, could be inside of a company, like this young lady that you just brought on. It seems like a degree that's totally different than the industry that she's in, but she's become an integral part, it sounds like, of what you're doing. So awesome. Branding, operations, marketing, scaling, finance. Gosh, I mean, what's next in 2021? I'm getting goosebumps here. What's next for Camp Run A Pup and what you guys are doing? I heard grand opening coming up soon. And then what do you think is going to go on for 2021 with
so we can't wait. We've been kind of chopping at the bit for the past year, because we've just been like kind of at capacity, like not able to grow as much as we want to grow. And so we've just been focusing on, engaging our clients and getting ready. So, once we're ready to move in, we can expand as quickly as possible. And so even in the past month, we've seen a huge increase in business as we're in the process of kind of moving everything over. And it also, COVID has seemed to increase the number of people who want a companion at home to kind of, make pandemic life a little bit easier. So, but occasionally they, they do want to get some work done. So that's where we come in. So that's been a kind of a silver lining in this whole process. But going forward, we have so many services that we can expand on: grooming, prairie wolf, photos, and deer antlers, to name, just kind of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So yeah, we really want to focus on grooming in particular, because that's a really, we have 2 tubs, we have a groomer, very low overhead, and we could wash and do nails for every dog that came through our camp, for sure. And prairie wolf as well. I would love to go out there every day. I have a great time, the dogs have a great time. So being able to do that more and, be able to offer that service to more dogs and would be incredible. And also incredible for our growth going forward. So we're planning on advertising on our vans for the first time. Yeah,
Oh.
we kind of want to do a cute school bus camp theme on the on our van. So we plan on doing like a yellow wrap, and then having the decals to kind of make it look like a school bus, and then we'll dress it up to make it a little bit more campy. And yeah, I'm excited. I think that'll offer us some new marketing opportunities as well.
Wow, that's awesome. And you that little bit of 2 seconds there where you said the prairie wolf, you could see that you're literally doing what you love on a daily basis, right? And expanding that is going to be so cool. So,
Well,
as we
the
wrap,
great thing about this job, CEO in particular, it's like the diversity of tasks. I get bored if I'm doing the same
sure.
thing over and over and over again. Being able to mix it up and for 2 hours go out and get muddy and trashed with some labs, like, yeah, that I need that.
That's
It's
awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome, man. And what a cool thing. I had a gentleman that's a friend of mine. He has a fishing guide business, and he literally has created a business out of fishing. Right? He's got sponsorships and boats and this type of thing. And so cool, to learn and listen to. And community Gopher CEO, I hope that you really kind of dive into this story, right? Replay what Cole just said, listen to the story that he just brought up, through his family, knowing kind of the niche that he had within the family business, and now going into 2021. And as you said too, right, the pandemic, if you're listening to this a couple of years from now or a couple of weeks from now or what have you, 2020 was not easy, but Camp Run A Pup, thrived through a situation that really, was not too easy. So Cole, one thing that we like to end with is usually the C, the E, and the O, right, of Gopher CEO. C is for client experience, and you've kind of shared a little bit, but what could you say to the audience that's your value proposition as far as the difference of what Camp Run A Pup brings to the table for client experience?
Yeah. So, I think there are a lot of people that know dogs, and there are a lot of people that are good with humans. If you've been around a lot of dog people, they aren't necessarily the same. Um, so I think that's really what we bring to the table. My mom has been training and working with dogs since she was a kid. My grandmother is, trains Dobermans. I grew up doing this. So we really know dogs well, and we really love dogs. So we're not focused on providing all these, gimmicky little, nickel and dime services that certain places provide that don't really do anything for the dog. It doesn't make them any happier, feel any safer or more comfortable. And, I think in a way, the client kind of knows that. And after a certain amount of time, it develops a certain amount of distrust and just kind of a bad taste in your mouth if you feel like constantly you're being told, well, are you doing enough for your dog? And that we never want to put people in that position. Camp is a very all-inclusive place, and we really pride ourselves on providing a quality service at a good price, and excellent service where we're being honest with our clients and we can be, I feel very confident when I offer advice on a dog, or, if someone has a question late at night because a dog is throwing up, I have no problem shooting a text back to that person and, saving them a trip to the vet where they would have spent a couple $100 because, their dog ate some, drank a bit too much water, and so that kind of thing where we aren't going to, we're not going to try and take advantage of maybe a new experience for you. A lot of people haven't necessarily owned a dog, haven't grown up with the dogs, and they're uncomfortable with, especially first time dog ownership, and some of the things that go along with that. So having someone that you can shoot a text to, you can rely on to give you good information, I think really provides like a long, strong, good client relationship that we can rely on for years to come. And I think that shows in our history. We have had clients that have been with us for 20 years and multiple dogs, and it's pretty wild.
That's so awesome. So awesome. So you also touched on, one of the newest members that came onto your team. Tell us a little bit about the value proposition of your employee engagement. How are you keeping some of these people to stay with Camp Run A Pup?
Yeah, so I feel like our number one selling point at this point is that we're a startup. You're with us. If you're with us right now, and we're getting along, we want to keep you around. We want to keep you around as long as possible. So right now we have one woman who's been working with us for a little over a year, and she's really shown some, she likes to do funny things with her hair, like she'll, dye her hair and cut her hair. And so we saw this, and we thought she could groom, she could really groom dogs. And if she were to learn to groom, that would be a great career for her, period. Having that skill set is valuable, even if at some point she were to leave Camp Run A Pup. But in the meantime, let's invest in Yanati, and have her around and expand our grooming services. So, Yanati is our other employee, along with Alexis and Noah. And we really we might kind of explore grooming school and kind of see what that would look like, and going forward, so we can offer more grooming. And already she's giving a lot of baths and doing nails, and yesterday she painted a dog's nails, and people love that. And so having someone who likes doing it, and Alexis, same thing. She never thought she was going to be working at a dog day camp, I don't think, but she got in, and it's fun. Once you get into it, we're constantly moving. There's constantly something to do. It's long days. There's definitely a lot of labor, but I feel like at the end of the day, you can really go to bed satisfied. And the team we have right now seems to really value that. So, I plan on finding new people like that going forward.
Great breakdown. Great employee engagement. I mean, the love and the passion, making me want to, if you ever allow a volunteer, stop by one of these days and volunteer. So
maybe one day. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Especially that prairie wolf. I'd be down for that.
Absolutely.
So cool. So, all right. And last one, which you've brought a lot to the table. I mean, you truly have become a CEO in this part of it. Operational excellence. What makes Camp Run A Pup just different, right? In that next level of their operations? Yeah,
I think it really is providing a level of consistency that other camps don't necessarily, or daycare services don't necessarily provide. We're at our client's house between the same 15-minute period every single morning. So they're really able to, okay, this is easy for me to, plan my schedule around that, having that where you're never imposing, you're never kind of disrupting someone else's schedule, I think is really good for your, ability to retain clients. So for instance, downtown, a lot of the time, people we run up to apartments to get dogs, and a lot of time people won't want to give us a key to their apartment because they don't feel comfortable with that, which is understandable, but a little bit challenging when we're picking up, let's say 7 dogs downtown. Well, 5 minutes waiting for a key at each front desk, that means I'm spending an extra 35 minutes in the car, and all the dogs are as well, and I can't provide the same sort of ETA and like consistent experience that people are used to. So I think being able to have that conversation, and I do, I explain, this is basically why we ask for the key, and how how we operate. And 90% of the time, no one has any issue with that at all, because of course, it makes sense. No one wants dogs to spend more time in the car than they have to. But being able to have those conversations and noticing, okay, well, this is an area where doormen aren't as great at getting a key for you, and getting you in the door as some people necessarily assume, and being able to find a workaround for that so we can provide the same level of service.
Incredible. I will say, you are very impressive, Cole. You've grown up in this business. You said operations is your forte, but you're doing an incredible justice to sales and marketing, to operations, to the vision. And I know that obviously your mom plays a huge part. When I asked you guys to come on board, I know she was a little bit shyer. So even though she's been in sales and marketing, she's like, you know what, let Cole do it, which is so cool too. So Cole, thank you so much for, coming on the Go for CEO channel. We look forward to tuning back in with you in about 6 to 12 months and just seeing where next year comes up, 2021, Camp Run A Pup. Follow them on their Instagram. So I'll let you just share your Instagram, your phone number, your website. How do people get a hold of you guys in the Chicagoland area?
Yeah, sure. So we're our Instagram is Camp Run A Pup, and our Facebook is also Camp Run A Pup. We're actually working on a new website right now, so that should be up shortly. We're just kind of our old one was developed in the early 2000s, so it really seriously needed an update. If you have any questions about day camp or boarding or anything, feel free to give me a call. Sorry, did you say give my phone number?
Yeah. I mean, okay, whatever number you feel comfortable.
Yeah. So you can reach me at 773-680-5578.
Awesome. Well, Cole, thank you so much. You truly are going for CEO. It's a mindset. You grew up with it, you've developed it, and so appreciative that you and your mom and I are taking Camp Run A Pup to the next level. So looking forward to seeing you in about 6 to 12 months, and staying connected, and that grand opening. Hopefully I get an invite to party with you guys at the grand opening, and looking forward to seeing you soon. So thanks so much for coming on. And hey, ladies and gentlemen, I don't believe I said this, but smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Look, these are real people, right? Not the big names of the world, but small business owners, entrepreneurs, CEOs, founders of companies, entrepreneurs that we're interviewing also inside of companies like an Alexis, like the Vieta that you said her names, right? People are transitioning into business. They're getting degrees, but going into different industries. So I hope you're enjoying this channel. Subscribe, like, smash that button, and then, share this with other people, and leave a comment for Cole. I know that he'd be willing to, interact with you and then bring you back onto the other platforms that he interacts with too. So have a great one, Cole. Thank you so much again for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. Take care.